Hello everyone and welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's just finished Bournemouth 2, West Ham United 2. As you can see, I'm by myself. It's my first one doing a live stream, so go easy on me. I've got my notes here. I'm not like Gonzo. Gonzo looks very prepared when he does these, so I'm going to be winging it as always. Let's start by going through the highlights. Well, we didn't have to wait long, did we? 10th minute, West Ham made it 1-0. Yarmolenko again. But I just want to talk about the assist first. Before we get on to Yarmolenko, Anderson, lovely ball over the top. He sees Alier's run. But Alier has so much to do. The pass isn't a bad pass. It's maybe half a yard too much for Alier. But he somehow, that first touch, he somehow just brings it into his body, pushes the defender off, rolls it to Yarmolenko, who then backs into Ake, uses his body absolutely perfectly. And Ake, as we all said in the preview, is one of the best centre-backs outside the top six. He's no mug, but Yarmolenko just draws him in, turns it, and he's facing the dugout, Yarmolenko. He's facing the dugout when he takes a shot into the far corner. Superb goal by him. You know, the guy's had his question marks above his head, and it's understandable why, because he cost £20 million in last season, and it was obviously a write-off. He started well, then got the long injury, and when he's come back, he's looked a bit sluggish, maybe over-eager is the words to use, but he's been scoring goals, so he's justified his place in the team. I thought he did very well against Man United. But today he was just, well, we'll come on to overall players at the end of the show. But yeah, 1-0 West Ham, Yarmolenko's goal. And then 1-1, 6 minutes later, a well-worked corner from Bournemouth. Good ball in by Rico. Ake knocks it down and King just slots it home. But this is where VAR gets involved again. Now, I actually thought it was the right call. I actually thought it was a goal. But what I found more strange was after one replay, I could see it was a goal. As soon as that first replay went in, you can see where Ake is. You can think, well, Ake is onside. Then you see King behind Ake, and you think, well, King's onside. But for some reason, VAR took ages. And this is where there's a few VAR calls throughout the game. I'm not going to go into them all because it would just take too long. It's a bit boring. I'll get fed up talking about it. But you've got to address it because it's a big part of the game, especially today. And I think it's I went into today's game thinking I understood VAR. I thought of I went in thinking I know when VAR is used. At the full-time whistle, I'm not that sure anymore. You know, people in WhatsApp group chats and stuff, you know, people were saying, well, why is that goal stood? Because people on Sky Sports were saying it was offside. Now, I didn't have Sky Sports on, so I didn't know they were saying it was offside. So when I watched it, I thought it was on. I thought, well, the right call's been made. And I thought, but then there's a situation with Ogbonna, and then there's one where a Bournemouth player gets pulled back by Diop, and people in the WhatsApp group are saying, so why is VAR not pulled this up? And truth be told, I'm not that sure anymore. Anyway, correct call was given in my opinion. It was onside. 1-1, good goal by Bournemouth. And then this is where it's not the turning point of the game. It's when we've got over the excitement and the adrenaline of watching the football match, tomorrow morning maybe, we're going to get a little bit worried about Lucas Fabianski. Fabianski goes off injured, and he's one of the worst players you want to see get injured for West Ham. We'll come on to why in a second, but I think it's quite obvious. But he's just that important. He's one of the best keepers in the league, and when he went off, everybody started panicking a little bit, and I don't think it was just the fans. I think some of the players on the pitch started thinking, hang about, because every time the ball went in the box with a half decent cross, on some occasions it's a Fabianski cross, the ball comes in, Fabianski just comes and collects them. But Roberto doesn't. He's very static, Roberto. He doesn't want to come out. He doesn't command his area very well, and that's the style he plays. Then fair enough. But it makes a massive difference to defence knowing if your keeper's coming or not. And after getting used to having your goalie coming and collecting all the lofted crosses and stuff, to all of a sudden the keeper's not coming and collecting any of them, you're going to start questioning every single thing that comes in the box. And it disturbs the side. Your keeper is a rock. I think it's very, very... It's not just the saves he makes, it's just the confidence the defence has and knowing what's going on behind them is a big difference as well. So he went off. There's a good few chances for both teams in the first half. Very entertaining game. But Anderson arguably had the best one with his scissors kick. Good save by Ramsdale though. Very good save. And at half time it was 1-1. I'll tell you what, in the first half, at half time, I thought that's the best half of football I've seen us play this season, apart from the Norwich game. We've won at Watford, but I thought we played better in the first half against Bournemouth than we did in the win at Watford, for example. I thought we were really good. I thought we were moving the ball about well. I thought every player was working hard. There was a lot of good triangles going on in the pitch. Sure, we conceded a couple of opportunities for Bournemouth, but that's expected when you're playing when you're playing with that many attacking players on the pitch, and you're playing a damn good side in Bournemouth as well. They are a bloody good team. You're going to concede chances, but as long as you're creating some as well, I don't see the problem with it too much. But the game kicked off again. We didn't have to wait long before we had our heads in our hands. Callum Wilson has never scored, I think, he's not scored for 4 consecutive goals in the Premier League ever until today. Of course, he scored in his last 3, and what's guaranteed in life, death, taxes, and Callum Wilson scoring against West Ham. But let's take nothing away from the finish. Very good goal by Callum Wilson. It was good build-up play by King as well. But both goals that Bournemouth scored, there's suspectable defending going on, if you like. In the first one, I can sort of not leave, but their corner kick routine caught us out by surprise. That goes out, the whole defence pushes up, and you lose your man pretty easily. But the second one, King dribbles through 3 or 4 players, and it's a lovely little ball into Wilson, and like I said, bang goes the goal. Good finish. And then Nathan Ake gets his goal disallowed. VAR comes in again. It's a corner kick, good corner kick. Ball falls down, Ake hits it, it goes in, and I'm not sure if it should be disallowed, Part of me thinks it should be because Solanke or King, whoever it is, that's just behind Allaire, he is offside. It's not behind Allaire, it's behind Fredericks. He's not offside, but the ball doesn't hit him. The ball hits Ryan Fredericks. And then there's the argument that the player, King or Solanke, whoever it is, the player is involved in the play, so therefore he's interfering. I'm not 100% sure he is, because he's not standing in front of Roberto, and if that was the other way round, you have to say this to be fair, because it might happen to West Ham in the future, in a future game. And if this happens the other way round, I would be a bit about it. I would have thought that should have stood. So I think Bournemouth could feel a bit harshly done by that one. And then Fornals went off for Lanzini. Now I'm going to speak about Fornals now, actually, because he was the one question mark in the starting 11 for me. Not because of him, just because of the way we were going to set up and stuff. I thought 10 were guaranteed to start. It was just that one other space. Was Lanzini fit enough? Was he going to play Wiltshire, or was he going to stick with Pablo Fornals? He stuck with Pablo Fornals. Do you know something? I thought he had a good game. I think his corners were fantastic. I thought every time we got a corner, I thought, good, get Fornals out there onto the corners again, because his them coming in the box was superb. Bonner had a glorious chance from one of them that he got pulled back a little bit, but he really should have made better contact for me, Ogbonna, despite the little tug. But I thought Fornals played really well. The only criticism I've got of him, it's not criticism, it's frustration. There was one in the first half, just before we scored. This is how early it was in the first half. It must have been about the 8th minute. It was just before we scored. He was about 20 yards out, centre of the box. He had a good 2 or 3 touches, and he just sat there thinking, hit it, nope, hit it, nope. And then he passed, and he's going to get a lot of time. He's going to get a lot of passes from fans because he's settling into the Premier League, settling into West Ham, and rightly so. I think that's important. But you're 25 million, and there's settling in does not allow you, or does not give you a reason not to shoot from 20 yards out when you've got a shot on, in my opinion. You can find certain things difficult, you can find the physicality of difficult, you can find the pace of the game difficult. I understand all that, but what I can't understand is why you wouldn't shoot. That comes down to probably confidence, really. It comes down to confidence, and he got his opportunity 2 minutes later, where at the end of half, where he took that touch, and then Anderson had a scissors kick. I just thought it was unlucky from Fornals. I thought Allaire touched the ball when he probably could have not touched it, and it would have helped Fornals. It was just good defending by Morbith. I've seen some people saying that Fornals missed a sitter for that. It's not a sitter for me. He does everything right. He just blasts it. He's that close to go, whacks it. It's just really, really good defending. And sometimes I think we're too quick to take the credit away from just how good defending it was, because later on in the game, Diop does the same. I think it's King. He's just a way to head it down and go for a goal, but Diop just blasts it, gets in from behind and boots it away. It's not King's fault. It's just damn good defending. And then in the 75th minute, 2-2. To be honest with you, I was starting to get a bit worried if we were going to get the second goal. I thought between them scoring the second and us scoring our second, I thought they were the better team. I thought they stepped up a gear. I thought because we were having to push forward a bit more, the game was getting a bit more open, and I thought they were creating more and better chances than we were. But you always felt at the same time, we had that quality, and that our big players, our forward players, were actually on the ball today a little bit. So you just felt, come on. But just before we scored, I was thinking Anderson had that header, didn't he? The ball come in at the back post, and you can tell he doesn't like headering it, because it's how I used to head the ball. I used to hate heading the ball as well. And whenever the ball come to me to head it, I'd actually rather not head it. Like, I'd rather win the throw-in or something. But Anderson, you could tell he's one of those players, because the ball come in at the back post. And if that was Mikel Antonio, it's a goal. If it's Sebastian Haller, it's a goal. If it's Declan Rice, it's a goal. But it was Anderson. So he sort of half ducked and just let the ball hit him on the head. I don't think he headed the ball. I think the ball just bounced off him. It was a good save by Ramsdale. But then it was 2-2. This time Anderson does head it. Yarmolenko, lovely little ball to the back post. It's almost like the first one. Anderson did it for Haller, the first one. This time it's Yarmolenko to Anderson. He just cushions the header down to Aaron Cresswell, and he does exactly what you're supposed to do in that situation. Put your laces through and hope for the best. But a superb assist. Both our goals, you have to praise the assists as much as the goals themselves. I think Yarmolenko strikes fantastic, but this assist is just beautiful. And it's once again, it's Anderson's header is just perfect. It's just lays it on a plate for Aaron Cresswell, and all he has to do is get on target and put his laces through, and he's scored, and he does just that. The game finished 2-2, but lots of chances for both teams. I think it's a good point. I'm happy with the point. I think it was a good performance overall from us. I thought the first half we were really good. Second half, I don't think we were as good as we were in the first half, but I think we did enough. And like I said, I think losing your keeper affects you more than you think. It just puts that little bit of doubt in your heads. Every time you're defending a corner, every time there's a pass back to your keeper, every time a cross comes in, the whole team's probably thinking, oh, I know this isn't great. Roberto's distribution wasn't good. When he came on, he had the wind at him. That affects your mentality as well. Already you're thinking, crap, this is not great. However, Roberto, fantastic save. Just before we scored our second one, someone played in Callum Wilson again. It might have been King again. He played in Callum Wilson, and he had all the time in the world. Roberto stood up. He stood up. Part of it's a poor finish, but it's great goalkeeping at the same time. He stands up, he makes himself big, and he makes a save. And that's vital, because if that goes in, it's game over. It's 3-1 Bournemouth. Any momentum we had, any enthusiasm we had is just gone. It's weeping out of us. But it's a superb save from Roberto. And I don't think he is a great keeper. If you watched our videos long term, from the summer really, you know that every time we've played, we've been looking through our fingers at his goalkeeping. The reason I don't like him is because he doesn't command his area. Every time the ball comes in, he doesn't move, and I think there's too much uncertainty between the defence and the keeper every time the ball comes in there. But he's probably going to have to play a few games. We'll wait and see what Fabianski's injury is. But I just want to say that save, I thought, was potentially it would have been game changing in my opinion. It's massive, that save. It's just as good as Diop's tackle. It's just as good as a block that was on Fornals' shot. I thought we played really well today, though. Really, really well. I enjoyed watching that. I think anyone tuning in that was a neutral would probably enjoy it. Bournemouth fans might think that they were unlucky not to win. I think they'd be right. Some West Ham fans would be unlucky, thinking we were lucky not to win. I think they're right as well. I think it was just that good, and there were just that many chances for both teams. On another day, that game could have finished 6-all. It was just really, really good. But individual players, done Roberto. I thought Aaron Cresswell was good. He's continued his form from Man United. Goals is rare for a defender, but it gives you confidence that nothing else can. Anyone that's played football will know when you score, you get that feeling. And we will see an even more confident Aaron Cresswell against Crystal Palace next week, which is good. I thought Fredericks again against Man United, I said it was his most mature performance. I think this one was just as mature. He's positioning is getting so much better. There's a couple of times Noble had to say to him, get forward. But that's a good thing, because that means he's staying back, he's staying disciplined, he's defending first and attacking second, which is what a fullback should do. But often he was a bit guilty in his earlier days at West Ham, just bombing on and then getting caught out, and then we were paying for it, if you like. So he's staying more disciplined now, which is good. Centre-backs were brilliant. There's a couple of iffy moments, of course, but no more than average, and no more than their centre-backs. I thought they were good. I thought Declan Rice was phenomenal in the first half. The first half, he was just everywhere. He was just spraying the ball about, winning everything. I thought he was looking class as always. Second half, there was a couple of times I thought he was a bit iffy defensively. Their second goal, if you go watch their second goal, Declan Rice he's not the only one to blame, but he's got to take a large part of it, because you've got to give a free kick there. I'm sorry, but Declan Rice has to give a free kick there. King just shimmies him, and Rice's leg's out, and he pulls it in, and obviously Declan's not to know that was to lead to a goal, but you can't risk it. You cannot risk it. A more experienced centre-back, if you go watch Man City away play Everton after this, I bet you if Sigurdsson does that to Rodri won't just stand there and let him go past. Rodri will bring him down and say to the keeper, well, you've got to make the save now. So that's the only criticism of Declan Rice from the whole game, really. But I thought this first half he was 10 out of 10. Fornals, good game. Really, really good game. Possibly his best yet in a West Ham shirt. It was really good to see. Thought Anderson, he's a strange one, isn't he? Like, sometimes you watch it and his passing was good, but I think it's because he has abilities. He can be one of the best in his positions, and it's just frustrating because sometimes in games he will give you 5 minutes of that quality, but then he'll go through 10-15 minutes of frustrating you, where it's a over-hit pass, an over-ambitious pass, or it's a half-hearted dribble or something. But one thing I will say I noticed today about Felipe Anderson was his defensive part of the game. I know Gonzo picked up on it against the Man United game because a few people thought he didn't play that great against Man U. But today, it was our first goal. We go all the way back in the first goal. Felipe Anderson makes a tackle on the halfway line, and we break, it gets half cleared, we go again and we score from it. And then there's another couple of times I remember thinking, great tackle from Felipe Anderson. It's all very well and good, but sometimes we just need a bit more from him. I thought he had a good game though. And Sebastian Haller, I said against Man U, I'll say it again, we have a striker now that I don't think we can judge him on his goal scored at the end of the season. I don't think it's fair. That assist today was unbelievable, and I'll tell you something, Mark Arnautovic would have shot. If Arnautovic had brought that down, he would have took the shot himself. Haller doesn't. He's unselfish, and I think that's why you cannot judge him. At the end of the season, you cannot look at Sebastian Haller's goal tally and declare if he was good or not. You have to take into his hold-up play. And someone said to me at half-time, made a very valid point, said to me at half-time on Twitter, we're not getting enough service to Haller again. While I partly agreed with that, I actually think we could be getting service to him, but the reason we're not is because he's occupying Aki, he's occupying Steve Cook, and that's allowing Fornals, Anderson and Yarmolenko to come in and use up all the space. And he's almost sacrificing himself so that the three behind him can use what he's delivering, which is space. He's maybe not delivering goals, but he's delivering room. He's not delivering match-winning goals, but he's delivering opportunities for other people to go get those match-winning goals. And I haven't seen the second goal back. Well, I have, but I haven't seen where Haller is. But I wouldn't be surprised if Haller is running to the front post or something, and that's just dragging the gap in between the right back and centre back for Alan Cresswell to move her into. I would not be surprised if Sebastian Haller has made some sort of run that's just dragged someone all the way across the other side of the box and opened that hole up in the 18-yarder. He'll be coming off thinking, can I get him some more crosses and stuff, please? But I tell you what, his all-round game is just unbelievable. It's difficult to think. Someone asked me who else in Premier League does what he does. It is difficult to think of someone. The only one I can think of is Firmino, and they're different because Haler's a lot more physical. Firmino's a lot more on deck and stuff. But there was one point in the second half, Haller just held it up. He was on the 18-yard line, just holding it. And Fredericks just ran past him. He just slotted it between two defenders and played Fredericks in behind the defence. It came to nothing. It was well defended by Bournemouth. But he's just unbelievable. He's got eyes in the back of his head, Allaire. Like, you just watch his play, you just think, this guy's... You know, me and Gonzo were excited when we signed him and we said, 45 million is cheap and stuff. And every game I watch him, I just think he's 50 million, he's 60 million, he's 65 million. His value just goes up every time I watch him. He's a brilliant player. And my man of match is the one guy I've not mentioned. It's the picture. It's on that side, I think. Yeah, that side of me there is Yarmolenko. That's my man of match. I was tempted to give it to him against Man United last weekend, but I stuck with Cresswell because I thought Cresswell played really well. But today, he was... They couldn't handle him. Got a goal, got an assist, but his creativity, his movement, he's one player knows how to use his experience. He's everywhere. He's hard to defend because he starts out on the right, so the left back's up against him thinking, come on then, let's go toe to toe. Then he just moves 10 yards inside, and all of a sudden the left back's thinking, well, I can't go in there because that's not my position. So this is where you are then testing the other defence's communication. We've seen at West Ham, we've seen players move 5 yards in and our fullbacks are standing there scratching their heads at what to do. And we're now doing that to the other team with Yarmolenko. And now this is what, something? I wouldn't mind Pellegrini taking Felipe Anderson this week and showing him what Yarmolenko does in terms of movement and saying, if you can add this to your game, you could go on and become an elite attacking midfielder. Because Yarmolenko's movement's far better than Anderson's. It's not a criticism of Anderson, it's just a praise of Yarmolenko. I just think he's that good at moving. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, his link up with Fredericks is brilliant. Fredericks just knows when to run and overlapping. And Yarmolenko just constantly feeds him crosses. If we can work on Fredericks' crossing, that machine down the right hand side will be brilliant. But anyway, I'm going to start wrapping this up. As you can imagine, I'm happy. I'm a happy hammer. It's like a point. I also predicted 2-2 in the preview, but I won't go on about that too much. It's a good point at the end of the day, especially from going from 2-1 down to getting it. I think at one point during the game, I think they said when West Ham have taken the lead in games, we're unbeaten in 19, so this will be the 20th game that we've scored first in not lost, which is big. It's good. It's showing that when you go a goal down against West Ham, you're in trouble pretty much. Too often we've been seen as a soft touch. You got a goal down against West Ham, doesn't matter. It's only a matter of time until they gift us one and stuff. It was just a brilliant game, and 2-2 away to Bournemouth is a good result. It's a good result. It gives us plenty to build on going into next weekend, which is at home to Crystal Palace. The players are playing well. There's good competition. Lanzini obviously came on for Fornals, and he'll be hoping to start next week. But it's a difficult call for Pellegrini because I thought Fornals played really well. So you've got two attacking midfielders that are good. They've got stakes in the stake. They've got a good stake to claim in that team. So yeah. Anyway, I shall leave you in a minute. Gonzo was at the game today. The reason I've got nobody here is because young Tom's sick. Tom Bull was out after the game. Tom Down wasn't watching the game. Bez was with his kid. Gonzo was at the game. Charlie's working. Everybody's doing something. Mike never replied to me, but he was in the live chat. Mike, check your Twitter. But anyway, so that's it for me. Drop a like if you enjoyed it. This is the first time I've done a live stream on my own, so it's gone okay. Hopefully Fabianski's injury is not too bad. Hopefully Yarmolenko continues his form. And subscribe if you're around here, and we will see you during the week. Catch you in a bit. If you're not going to tomorrow to the London Stadium, make sure you change your mind. Adult season ticket holders are just £1, £2 for every other adult, and kids go free. Over 20,000 people attend the London Stadium tomorrow to cheer them on against Spurs. Make sure you're there, and until the next video, see you in a bit.